Hey y'all, I'm Derek and welcome back to 31 Days of Found Horror. So tonight we have a movie that's about an hour long and it's called Bunker. Not sure what to expect from this, but you know what? Let's get started. Okay. Let me do a dramatic interpretation of this entire movie and you decide whether or not I enjoyed it.
So aliens are attacking the world and we're trapped in this basement even though it's supposed to be a bunker.
Guys, I know it's the end of the world and y'all are my best friends, but I really gotta call this girl that I think is my girlfriend but really isn't my girlfriend. I just have to hear her voice.
Dude, don't call your girlfriend.
Okay. Anybody want to play Go Fish? Guys, I really need to talk to my girlfriend, even though she's not my girlfriend. Come on, let me just call my girlfriend.
Dude, stop calling your girlfriend. Obviously they can hear us when you use the phone.
Okay.
We're still in this basement, but another guy is feeling really sick.
I don't feel so good. Guys, I know I haven't been really honest with you. I've been calling my girlfriend nonstop just to hear her voicemail.
Stop trying to call your girlfriend. I think that guy's dead.
If you guessed I liked it, apparently you just tuned in, so let me introduce myself again. Hi, I'm Derek, and welcome back to 31 Days of Found Horror. Alright, let's go. So this movie starts off with the providence that in 2004 there was a terrible calamity that happened across the world, and in 2022 this footage was found. Okay, so it's a movie from the past found in the future that came out last year on YouTube. I wouldn't be so mad about that if the movie were good. It's not. So it starts off with two kids. I don't know who the camera guy is, but the other guy's name is Connor. And they go and pick up their other friend Alex from the airport because he's coming in from Maine, where he lives now, or is just visiting, I'm not exactly sure. But he's coming for the weekend, and they're in Virginia or something like that. They go pick him up, they go back to the house, cut to the next day, and all of a sudden they hear sound siren. They literally hear air raid sirens. And then we hear something like an explosion, so they run into the house, and at this point we notice in the house there's a dog, and they totally forget the dog, and the dog is so nonplussed about the whole thing. Second rule of film, you don't kill animals. You literally just killed an animal by not saving it. And I should mention at this point, I literally made mention of this in my notes, okay? I was watching this with headphones. I couldn't hear anybody speaking. I usually listen with headphones because I hear better with them. I could not hear anything that these people were saying. So anyways, they run inside, totally forgetting the dog, and run down to the basement, even though this is supposed to be a bunker. And they talk about the explosion that happened off screen. Oh, and another thing, this camera guy has a really bad habit of touching the lens. He's literally touching the lens. Don't touch the lens. The lens is the eye into this world. If we can't see what's going on, how are we supposed to feel anything about what you're going through? Cutting back to the story, they're talking about they were expecting a firefight with North Korea, but this was based in 2004, and we weren't really expecting a firefight with North Korea. We were just making fun of them. That's around the time Team America World Police came out. We weren't thinking of them as a threat at that time. Ugh. And Alex, the guy they picked up from Maine, he gets a phone call from this girl that he really likes, who he wants to be boyfriend and girlfriend with, but they never really went that far. Apparently she's in Washington, D.C. doing a tour of the White House when all this chicanery's happening, and then the phone goes dead. For the rest of the movie, all he does is call this phone line over and over again to hear her voice on the answering machine. I'm sorry, this one has really made me mad. So they set up a radio. All of a sudden, we get a wonderful ADR emergency signal from the National Emergency Service. They're checking to see what they have. They have a gas generator that's hooked up to the lights. That's how they're getting away with the fact that they never turn off the lights. But it's also the quietest generator in the world. It makes no sound. It's also the cleanest generator in the world because it's not giving off fumes. The generator is in the room with them. If there was a generator running in the room with them, they would be dead. Well, Alex is expecting a phone call back from his girlfriend, and that never comes, so he's getting nervous. Well, the camera guy is just being really pessimistic, and he's saying she may not be alive and to expect that she's dead. And then there's acting. Alex goes on this great tirade about how he cares so much for this girl, even though we've never met her, even though she's obviously not that into you. Seriously, he thinks of this great relationship he has with this girl, but he doesn't have any pictures of her except in a group shot. That tells me she's not comfortable to be with you alone. And so Alex is saying, well, she was at the White House. If they started bombing the White House, they would have let her in the bunker. And the guy with the camera says, they don't let civilians in the White House bunker. Where did you learn that? That would be kind of really harsh when everybody knows that there's a bunker at the White House. That they say there's bombing, but you can't go in. Of course they're gonna let civilians into the bunker. Oy. The kids, they start pretending they're gunner's mates, knowing all about these weapons that nobody knows about. If you've ever met a gunner's mate, ask them what a hammer is. I'm just saying. And so they find a wireless radio and they turn it on and they start getting a signal. The thing is that they're in a basement. Basements are notorious for not having signal. They get perfect reception on this automated National Emergency Service line. So there's a data dump, and basically it's aliens. Aliens are attacking the Earth. That's it. And the emergency notice says that they need to shelter in place, turn off all lights, etc., etc. So the camera guy is trying to focus everybody on just surviving. And he's trying to seem really important. The problem is we can't see that he's trying to be important because all we see is his feet. His feet are in every single shot of this movie. That's not style, my darling. That is just bad camera work. So the camera guy decides Alex can call his girlfriend one more time. But during this whole thing, I'm like, they should have brought the dog. Why didn't they bring the dog? So part of the data dump that we got earlier was that the aliens seem to communicate through clicking, and all of a sudden they think they hear clicking upstairs. Oh my god, there's aliens upstairs. Or it could just be a cricket in this filthy ass basement. Who knows? We don't. We can't see anything. And then there's also just so much sitting. Honestly, at this point in this project, I think I've seen about 20 hours worth of people walking. I never thought I would get like 20 hours worth of people sitting in one movie. It was kind of a rest because you know what? All that walking exhausts me. And then we cut to day 3 because apparently they didn't record anything on day 2. Apparently day 2 was very chaotic, but nothing of interest happened that they could actually film. So we just get more sitting. Well, it turns out Alex has been trying to call his girlfriend in secret this entire time. Ooh, this is not appropriate behavior. This is stalker material. Girlfriend, run and hide. I think that's what she's doing. But he and the guy who's like whatever, who's been developing a really bad cough, they get into a fight and Alex just pulls out a gun. Out of nowhere. This gun literally appears out of nowhere. It's up there with a sensible pump, but it's not scary, it's just a random gun. the camera guy is talking him down. He says, "Give me the gun." And hides the gun over there so nobody can get to it. And finally talks Alex into throwing his phone into the toilet bucket. And they just realize, oh my goodness, there's a freezer down here. They open it up, and there's obviously nothing in the freezer. They're trying to make it seem like there's rotted meat in there, so they just close it and start vomiting off stage. Then cut to day 4. Alex has apparently finally slept. He hadn't slept in the last 3 days. He finally slept, and the whatever guy is sitting in a chair covered in a mosquito net because he's quarantined. Because apparently he's sick and they don't want to catch what he's got, so they put a mosquito net over him. That's just stupid. It's a big basement. Have him sit in the corner. And at this point, everybody's having a heart-to-heart of darkness because it turns out Alex did throw his phone away, but he fished it out of the toilet bucket and cleaned it just in case it could still work. And apparently it does. We find that out later. That's just disgusting. And the phone wouldn't have worked. What is going on in this movie? It's like they saw all of these action movies and thought this scene looked cool, and this scene looked cool, and this scene looked cool, so let's all act it out in our basement. Then they shut off the camera comes back on, Alex went on a food run, he found some crackers, he brings them back down, and they turn over to the guy who's been in the mosquito net, and he looks just dead. He's not dead, but he looks dead. Alex found a portable CD player, and they decided to put on music. They put on XTC, actually, I believe, and it was actually a nice song. But at this point, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with Connor because it's obvious he gonna die. What they decide to do, I forgot to mention that this is that guy's house, the coughing dead guy's house. They kick him out of his own basement. But the way he's dying, it doesn't seem like he's actually dying. It seems more like they're trying to infer that he's turning into one of the aliens. For reasons. And at this point, Alex makes mention that he has 2 bullets. One for him and one for the camera guy if it ever comes down to that. Ooh. Then someone starts banging on the basement door and they hold it. And all I could think of was, hold the door! Hold the door! And then we can't see what happened. Something happened, but we don't know what because we hear it, we don't see it, and then the next shot, they act like nothing happened. Okay, I know that these kids are kids, but we have seen movies on this program made by kids that were much better put together. And the camera comes back, they're sitting around, and all of a sudden, Alex gets a phone call from his girlfriend. It turns out she's been hiding in the metro this entire time and she's on her way to rescue them. Yay! Well, they open the door and it turns out the aliens are there. So we're led to believe that the phone call was actually a lure from the aliens, and then the movie ends. That's it, roll credits. This movie was bad, y'all, and I'm mad at it. Nothing in it made sense. These kids obviously wanted to make a movie. They didn't have a script. They didn't have an outline. They just went with whatever anybody wanted to say at the same time. And it just became a befuddled mess of boringness. It was nothing but sitting. We're supposed to feel engaged with these characters, but camera guy was too blasé at first, and then he wanted to take control, so we're supposed to feel for him? No. Then there was the guy who was like, whatever, and he's just there to die. And then there's Alex, who is not a good guy. He is not a good guy at all, but he wants to come off as a good guy. This movie was terrible. I would not recommend watching it. But if you have seen it, please leave me a message down below and tell me what you thought about it. And of course, if you sat through this and still want to see what I'm talking about, it will be linked in the description below. Well, that's it for this episode of 31 Days of Found Horror. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for tuning in. And come back tomorrow for another found footage nightmare.